So I'm going to talk about how, in today's environment, we need to adapt and grow. And what we're finding is now even increasingly more so than before all the crazy stuff that's happened in the last 12 or 14 months. Um, Mapping content to the buyer journey is really the best way for any business to look on how to find more customers, engage them, and have them stay longer and refer even new customers. So first, I want to talk about kind of the elephant in the room. I think for all of us is we're facing massive amounts of disruption. And we all know that, right? We're feeling not just the disruption happening from the pandemic, but also new technologies and politics and all kinds of things that are happening in our global, social, economic, demographic changes are all feel like they're coming together and converging. I like to use this picture of my kids to kind of show what exactly it is that I think help us to put all of this in context. And what you can see here is a picture of this was us on vacation a couple of years ago. Kenneth can certainly relate to this. I wasn't swimming with sharks, but did so not long after this. What I realized for the first time was that my oldest daughter shares a birthday with the founding of LinkedIn in 2003, the year she was born, on the exact day. And what it helped us to realize was that, or what I kind of thought about was, wow, the world's first commercially viable social media platform is exactly as old as my daughter. And she was probably the most disruptive thing that happened to me in my life at that time. And in the same way, I think digital social mobile technologies, starting with LinkedIn, have disrupted the lives of all of us in the business world for sure, and specifically in marketing. As a marketer, I looked at my other kids, and sure enough, not the same day, but my second daughter shared a birthday with the founding of Facebook. My son shared an anniversary with the launch of the iPhone here in the United States. So we are now all walking around with the internet in our pockets, something that we didn't have 13 years ago, 14 years ago. And then sure enough, my son, number 4 there, we always love to say he was God's plan, not our plan, or sort of our lovable little oops baby. And we can't imagine life without him, in the same way that I'm sure you can't imagine life without Snapchat and TikTok filters of rainbow bunnies and or bunny ears and rainbow puke filters. The point of all this is that we have been dramatically disrupted from a technical standpoint due to the digital, social, mobile technologies that have been around for, in some ways, quite a long time, but in other ways, it feels like just yesterday that my wife was giving birth to some of these guys. So anyway, my point in all this is that the things that are changing now, we've got hybrid work, we've got hybrid cloud, we've got virtual events, hybrid events. Those things were already happening long before the current crisis or whatever crises you feel might be happening in your world. They're just accelerating. So we're all connected to each other, but we also need to learn how to live in a world and communicate in a world where the most important person to the prospects that you're trying to reach are their friends and their neighbors and their relatives and their family members. So when we look to CEOs, let's talk about the boss. Maybe he or she is very grumpy these days. If you're in marketing, they certainly are. And this is a stat from just a little over a year ago from the Fournaise Group, who looked at CEO satisfaction with C-suite executives. And what they found was that, most of them were pretty happy with CIOs and CFOs and COOs and CHROs and all the other CXOs there might be, except for CMOs. 80% of them were unsatisfied with the job of the marketing department. And so, maybe you're asking why that is. So let's ask CEOs, well, what should marketing be doing? And they're going to say they want leads, they want revenue, they want business, they want new customers, they want growth, they want some form of measurable return on investment. But unfortunately, when the CEO then thinks about what marketing should be, a lot of times they're asking us to create a new logo. They'll say, hey, I don't like blue, maybe it should be yellow. And when we look at the marketing department, we like to support, we need to support the sales team. And they're asking us for, pens with logos on them and stress balls and brochures. And And hopefully soon here we'll be doing DigimarCon live again. I can't wait for my second live DigimarCon that hopefully Aaron and Kenneth will invite me back to. But when we do that, the sales team wants us to get that LED lit, centrally located, amazingly designed booth so that they can start to shake hands with prospects. And so that's what sales is asking of the marketing department. Now, we're in marketing, we like to try new things, and there's lots of different things we can try. We can try Facebook posts and Snapchats, and we can sponsor tweets, and we could do Facebook ads, and we could do podcasts and animated explainer videos, and we can stick our product name on a billboard on the side of a highway, or maybe a digital ad on the side of a website that, based on recent eye tracking studies, absolutely no one will look at. But hey, we want to try all these things. We're in marketing, we're creative people. We've got to try different stuff. Everyone around the organization is looking for more content. And so if you're a marketer, you understand, you can feel hopefully the pain of the rock and a hard place that we're placed between. According to Serious Decisions, 60 to 70% of the content that we create goes completely unused. So this is not a stat about ineffective content. This is a stat about content that never gets used at all. It gets requested, it gets budgeted, it gets created, and never gets published, never gets sent, never gets promoted anywhere. And so maybe you're asking, well, why do we do all this stuff? Why do we do this stuff, even though sometimes, it's a salesperson's brochure, or it's a logo on the side of a website, or an ad on the side of a website that we know no one's going to look at? Why do we do all this stuff? And so this is kind of, the villain of my story, if you will. It's that grumpy, curmudgeonly executive behind every bad piece of content, every bad marketing idea. Is generally an executive who asked us for it. If you talk to miserable marketers, they'll tell you they're miserable because they just get asked to do stuff. And then at the end of the day, we're asked to deliver and show return on investment. And so, marketing essentially has a marketing problem. And what I mean by that is, if we ask most executives, if we ask most people that are not in marketing what marketing is, they think that we pull out our pens and our pencils and our crayons and our scissors and maybe some glue and maybe some, construction paper, and we create stuff, we do stuff, and we do stuff that they think that we should do. That's what most people think marketing is. If you ask your mom, she'll think that marketing is a Super Bowl ad. And yet the executives inside our organization, the sales teams that we support, are expecting marketing to deliver return on investment. So marketing has a marketing problem in and of itself. During the pandemic, the CEO of Coca-Cola said that they were going to stop brand advertising because of its limited effectiveness, which in fairness, the context was that during a pandemic, brand advertising has limited effectiveness. But when Dr. Fu on Forbes looked at a number of brands that stopped advertising over the past year, you can see P&G turned off $200 million in digital ad spend and saw absolutely zero change in business outcomes. Chase Bank reduced their programmatic reach from 400,000 sites to 5,000, a 99% decrease. We saw no change there, and on it goes. And so part of the reason marketing has a marketing problem is because we just do what we're told. Part of the reason marketing has a marketing problem is we continue the myth that marketing is just advertising, and we reject the possibility or the option or the demand in many cases to show return on investment. Now, this is actually a GIF. It's not working for me, that where poor Holly gets hit by a stop sign. The joke in this slide is we need to stop doing what we're told. We need to stop just promoting products and services that no one wants to hear about. And we need to understand that marketing is mission critical. And what that means is that we need to show leads and sales and return on investment. And now, why is it mission critical? Because the world is expecting and looking for businesses and brands to present helpful educational information. Global daily internet searches are up 2 to 3 times. We went from 2.5. I think we're now closer to 7 billion daily searches in Google. According to McKinsey, traditional in-person interactions obviously are down 55%. And yet digital interactions are up way more than that. And so we see 69% in video conferences, 31% in online chat, 300% increases in the amount of content consumption in the buyer journey, according to a few recent stats. that I've seen as well. And so here's my definition, sort of a new definition for marketing. Marketing is the function, the strategic function inside an organization that attracts new buyers to deliver growth for an organization. Now, the problem that we have, I think everything in life can be explained in a Venn diagram. The problem that we have in marketing is what we think we should be doing is talking about who we are, what we sell, and how awesome we are. It's in many ways our natural business instinct to think that's what we're doing, and in many ways it's fair, right? We love the brand that we work with, and we want to tell everybody about it. The problem is that the audiences we're trying to reach are being distracted by pictures of babies and kittens and puppies and Snapchat filters. And that's just charity. That doesn't serve our business. So what marketing really should be, what we call content marketing, is really the overlap of these two things. It's not what we want to say, but what we know. It's the expertise that we have. It's the education that we can deliver, or maybe it's the opinions and the thought leadership that we can share that answers a customer question, that solves a business need, and really helps people to understand the connection between those two things. And so in many ways, I feel like I am every day Jerry Maguire. And what do we need to do? We need to show them the money. If we're not familiar, if you don't remember that movie from a couple of decades ago now. And so the best way that I love to kind of define this in a few words is I think we just too often forget that with the dawn of the website, now a few decades ago, we basically just took our printed brochures and annual stakeholder and sales collateral and moved them online. And we forget that our websites are actually digital assets. They're assets now with cryptocurrency. I think this makes more sense for people. These digital assets have real value, and that value can grow over time. Unlike cryptocurrency, which doesn't really have any real intrinsic value. Your website has real intrinsic value that we can measure and that grows over time. And so let me show you a picture of a combination of about 15 of our clients over the last couple of years. And what happens is they think of marketing as a strategic investment. Our average client spends about $5,000 to $7,000 a month on content that's published maybe twice a week. Sometimes it's promoted, paid, and organically through social and email distribution channels. But despite that consistent $5,000 to $7,000 a month, they see an increasing amount of traffic coming to their website. They see an increasing amount of leads or revenue for our consumer clients, direct customer revenue, direct sales. That delivers in the end about 138% year over year increases in traffic, about a $7 for every return for every dollar spent. And so these companies see their websites as digital assets with real value that we can measure and that grows over time. So now I want to get into a couple of quick stories. My first one here is my friend Amanda Todorovich. She is the senior director of content over at the Cleveland Clinic. She's also a resident of Cleveland. She's given birth to her babies in the Cleveland Clinic hospital system. But when she joined the company, she was told in marketing, you know what, create banner ads and talk about how great we are. Create banner ads and talk about how great we've been for 13, 14, 15 years. Tell the world all of the different disease states that we're experts in. And let's tell the world all the amazing doctors that we have using their pictures and the great institutions that they went to for school. And Amanda didn't feel like this was the right way to show what she really believed made Cleveland Clinic special. And what she believes made Cleveland Clinic special was the fact that they cared for the patients that they were serving. And so what Amanda did was she said, you know what, to the executive team, we can talk all day long about how great we are, and they do still do some of that. But I'd like to focus on creating content that meets the needs of the audiences and patients that we're trying to serve. I want to create engaging content that answers those very, very knowable questions around healthcare and patient outcomes. In her case, they weren't necessarily converting them to sales, but for them, they wanted to improve patient outcomes. They wanted to increase the profitability of their healthcare system. They wanted to lower costs. They wanted to shine a light on some of the great deeds that they do in their community. And they wanted to retain that engagement with their patient community over time. So that was tip number one is Amanda defined the business case. I've got 5 tips, just so you know. Tip number 2 was Amanda understood that frequency drives results. Now, I get into trouble with this chart. It's one of my favorites because there's usually somebody in an audience that says, oh, quality over quantity. It's kind of like saying, when I go to a restaurant, I only want one bite of the restaurant's best item on the menu. No, we want to have a great meal experience, and so quality versus quantity is a false choice, and it's one that consultants love to throw out there because people love to say, yes, I agree, quality over quantity. But the simple math of it is, this is HubSpot data, looked at thousands of websites, and what they showed was that frequency drives results. And I'm not saying that you should choose quantity over quality. What we should choose is to deliver quality content to our audiences frequently if we want to show 2 to 3 times higher traffic, 3 to 4 times higher leads. And that's essentially the whole founding principle of the marketing agency that we run. Here's a quick story, not of Cleveland Clinic, but one that Amanda and I talked about, of a client of mine that made their customers the hero of their content story. They used empathy. So this is GE Healthcare. They sell $1 million MRI machines, CT scanners, X-ray machines, and they were struggling, especially during the pandemic, at reaching the radiologists that would buy this stuff. Radiologists are extremely stressed doing, chest scans and all kinds of images of people that were very, very sick. And so, GE wanted to create content about MRI machines and CT scanners and X-ray machines. But just by using Google autofill, we were able to figure out that radiologists right now are worried about, am I getting paid enough? How do I deal with all my stress? Did I forget about some continuing education credits that I should be thinking about? And so we created content that mapped to those interests of the persona they were trying to reach. We don't care about the fact that radiologists on average are 54 years old and they have, they have 3.9 kids and they live in the suburbs of a major city. None of that stuff helped us define a content plan. We made the customer, in this case radiologists, the hero of the story by serving their greatest content needs. How much money should I be making? How much education or continuing education should I have right now? How do I deal with stress? What about AI in the radiology functional area? And so that's what Amanda understood when she created Cleveland Clinic's Health Essentials. Now, this website is now 5 years old, but it's still one of my favorite case studies because of the tremendous, amazing growth that Amanda saw. She went from 0 to 43 million visitors in the course of just 5 years. And she did that by publishing just 2 articles a week. This is a screenshot from SEMrush where you can see they went from 0 to 43 or almost 44 million visitors a month. They now rank for 7 million keywords. When they started, they were ranking for the world's #1 most visited website, which is WebMD, in one of the highest volume traffic areas, the most competitive areas in the world. So if you're out there saying, oh, I compete with big competitors and we have a noisy space and how can I ever break through? Well, you just need to follow these simple tips. Number 1, Amanda defined the business case. Number 2, she understood that frequency drives results, not to serve bad content, but quality content frequently. And number 3, she made their audiences the hero of the story. They also had some fun. If you Google, what does the color of my pee say about me? Or what does it mean? They actually created an infographic about the color of urine. They tested the words urine and pee. I know it's 4:00 Eastern time here, so you might need to run to the bathroom, and that's okay. And if you do have pink to reddish, orange, blue, green, purple, or foaming, fizzling urine, then you should actually run to the emergency room. They actually joke that that's not a real thing. So the point here is, Amanda loves to say, before she joined, they needed 5 doctors and 55 attorneys reviewing every piece of content. And now Amanda's creating infographics about the color of urine. They're having fun. They're meeting people where they are. They're talking to people as people. And maybe you're asking, well, sure, fine, but what about ROI? This site, because of the 43 million visitors that they get, is able to monetize the site. I found, just landing on one of their articles just the other day, that there are reading goggles. I'm about to turn 50. There are reading glasses that have a little dial that you can turn up or turn down the magnification. That's pretty cool. That was an ad. That was an appropriate ad served on a healthcare information website. Okay, so let me tell you another story. This is the highest return on investment program I have ever seen. And it was run by one of the sweetest and smartest people I've ever worked with, Rena Patel, one of my very first clients. And Rena worked at Capgemini. She's now a CMO of a major global brand. But when she joined, she was only part of a very small team at Capgemini. I think there were maybe 6 of them. She was head of brand communications, and like most of us in marketing, she was told to create tweets and Facebook boosts and press releases about how awesome Capgemini is, how much innovations they were able to help companies to deploy. Now, Capgemini, if you know the professional services space, competes with KPMG and Deloitte and Accenture, these sort of globally known, recognized brands. And so, they faced a real noisy marketplace as well. When their CEO looked around at those companies and saw their marketing programs, what he saw was they were spending a lot of money on golf. And maybe you love golf, and if you do, you've seen KPMG and Deloitte and Accenture because they sponsor all the top golfers. They sponsor all the top events. Accenture puts their name on just about every golf website, golfer, and golf event that you could think of. And so, what do you think the CEO of Capgemini wanted to do? Well, like the conundrum we all face in marketing every day, the CEO thought they should sponsor a golfer. The CMO wanted that budget because it's like a $14, $15, $20 million budget to sponsor a golfer. And Rena said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. If you trust me, in my experience, I'm not sure that's a good idea. She really believed in putting the customer at the center of their marketing programs. And in doing that, she said, well, what's in it for the customer for us to sponsor a golfer? And she did some research. And what she found was that only 12% of their audience was a golf fan in any way. Only 8% of their target audience was really a true fan of golf and understood and saw golf events or knew the names of golfers and would have ever seen the Capgemini logo on a golfer. Rena went a little bit further. She did some research using a tool I love called answerthepublic.com. You can type any keyword like artificial intelligence, which is something Capgemini does a lot of work around, and you can see all of the questions that a customer might potentially ask. This is essentially an editorial plan, a content marketing strategy in a simple visualization called a mind map here. Answering all the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions is the best way to attract and win new customers. Now, Rena used this information to push back on the CEO and the CMO to say, listen, there's a lot of questions around the stuff that we know lots of stuff about. Why don't we create a simple blogging platform, a website, or include thought leadership on our website that allows us, for 0.1% of the cost of a golf sponsorship, to raise awareness of who we are, to elevate the experts that we have inside our organization. And you know what? Put a target on my back. I believe that if we do this, we can generate 1 million new visitors to our website. Nobody believed her. They gave it a shot. They gave her a year to get this done. And sure enough, after 1 year, Rena was able to achieve that goal. She was able to get 1 million visitors, but they also stumbled upon $1 million in sales revenue, which was pretty exciting. If you're in marketing, wouldn't you all love to stumble upon $1 million in sales from a program that didn't have a revenue target? And so they were all really excited. They high-fived each other at their annual marketing meeting. But the CEO still wanted to sponsor a golfer. The CMO still wanted a $20 million budget. And Rena pushed back again. She looked at where that $1 million in sales came from. And she started to see this research from LinkedIn that showed that employee networks have connections that are 20 times larger than the brand. So what Rena saw was that the employees at Capgemini, who were all professional consultants mainly, had 20 times more connections than the Capgemini, account on LinkedIn or the Capgemini account on Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else. And so she thought, wow, we really have this tremendous asset inside our organization. Only 70 or over 74% of people find posts from other people or content from other people more persuasive than content from a brand. And so Rena really believed that she should look to use their existing assets or employees to reach new customers. And so that was essentially her plan. She knew that the content from her program, where only 3% of their employees were creating articles essentially for this platform, were generating 10% of all the clicks on their company website. So just 3% of their employees creating and sharing content was generating a massively outsized outcome from that 3%. So she looked to activate more of the employees around the organization. And so, sure enough, tip number 5 from Rena was to activate your experts. Rena really believed that if she could double her budget, they could double awareness, get 2 million visitors to their website, maybe $2 million in sales. They did a little bit better than $2 million in sales. $24 million in sales in the second year of this program being active. It continues to be one of the biggest revenue generating, lead generating, ROI producing marketing programs at Capgemini, but also just about any company I have ever seen. So hopefully you got some value in me sharing those stories with you. The point I think is really important for us to make is that marketing with content, creating stuff, is not the same thing as what we call content marketing. Marketing with content is tactical. It's the boss told me to. It's the salesperson asked for. It's, hey, I think we should create some ads, or hey, wouldn't it be cool to put our name on the side of a bus? It's not the same thing as something that's strategic, something that's consistent, something that's focused on customers, something that activates the employees. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the reason most of the marketers I talk to are really in a session like this is because we want to see higher return on investment. We feel the pressure of showing results for the marketing that we do. Websites with content marketing see 6 times more revenue than websites that do not have content marketing. And maybe you're asking, hey, well, we've got content marketing. 85% of the companies that I look at in the prospecting that we do not do content marketing in the way that I would define it. It's not consistent, customer focused. It doesn't sort of eliminate the need to sell too quickly and all of those kinds of things, because we understand that the buyer journey has changed, especially in the last 12 months. We've seen that digital interactions have grown by 60, 70 to 100%. We know that buyers are engaging with content at 200 to 300 times higher rates than they were before. We also understand the complexity of, if you're in the buying or in the B2B world, the complexity of the B2B journey, where you've got not just your target audience, but also all the people that they have to convince about the need for the solution that they're trying to buy. And so Gartner calls this validation and consensus content. It's often way simpler, much more basic. It's what is, why, and how kind of content that we need to answer. And so maybe you're a small company, maybe you have no budget, maybe you don't even have any marketers, you're the only one, or you just have an agency, or maybe you have big competition. So I'm going to quickly tell you kind of the story of how I got into content marketing. And it really started with the fact that the name Michael Brenner is actually the 1100th most popular name in the world, which I found out 15 years ago when I started blogging. And I did that because when I Googled Michael Brenner, you'll see, and this is an actual screenshot. There is a brain surgeon, a rocket scientist, a historian, a faculty professor, and there's a number of other very famous Michael Brenners that come up before me, despite the fact that I create lots of content. And how could I compete with that? And so I use tools like Answer the Public, tools like BuzzSumo. There's other tools here. You can see questiondb.io, simpletools.io, Answer Socrates. I'm sharing this with you so that you can take some of these tools and use them for yourself. But I use these tools every single day. In fact, you can see in this Answer Socrates screenshot, how do I become a content marketer? What are examples of content marketing? What is content marketing and how does it work? What is the role of content marketing? Those are actual questions I'm going to answer on my blog in the next couple of weeks. Just creating this screenshot for you guys. And so that's what we do on Marketing Insider Group website. I even wrote an article about how we rank number 1 for the term, what is thought leadership? We rank number 3 for what is marketing. We get 1 million visitors a year. We're a 3-person company with 0 marketing budget. And we do all this by simply utilizing the tools that are available to everybody. Google Autofill, Google Trends, BuzzSumo, Answer the Public, and some of the other tools that I just mentioned. We follow a very simple approach to answer customer questions. And so this is something that most people they know, but they never really saw this visualized. And what I mean by that is the early, the middle, and the late stage questions that your buyers, your customers are asking are relatively the same no matter what industry you're in. But more importantly, there's significantly more questions in the early stage of the buyer journey. We can quantify that using Google Trends, using Google search. There are a lot more people asking, what is content marketing, that are asking, how do I find a content marketing agency like mine? And so there are 100 times more people asking that question. And so guess what? I create a lot of content about what is content marketing and why is it important. I create 100 times more content about that than I do about why you should choose my firm. There's 10 times more people looking to understand, how do you outsource content, or how do you show the return on investment for content marketing? And so I spend 10 times more of my effort answering that question or those questions than I do on what it is about us. And so the main point that I'm trying to make to you is that the big gap that almost every company I see faces is in this early stage, articles, news, and thought leadership that marinate in the pain of the problem your audience is trying to solve. What is the problem? What challenges do they face? How can they solve those problems? Who solved that problem that might be somebody similar to them? But don't rush to explain why they should use your solution. Don't rush to explain how much your solution costs. Don't rush to explain all the reasons that you're awesome and all the people that think that you're awesome. That's the mistake that most companies make. And when we map content to the buyer journey, what we find is we reach new people. We engage them with our company for the first time. They actually on their own start to look and check out some of the things that we have to offer, the case studies and the products and the customer profiles that we can share. And that is what turns them to the other side of the sort of the marketing triangle, if you will, where they look at our product content, they look at our case studies. And then ultimately, maybe we can even retain, upsell, and cross-sell some of those companies. This is a little bit of a side note before I finish up here and hopefully get to some Q&A, and maybe I'm going to share with you a free gift here to end the day. This is just the most simple, most basic tip that I love to share with everyone as often as I can. If you do nothing coming out of this session, go to your website. I use Google Analytics. Hopefully you've got goal conversion tracking. If you don't, set that up today. It's super simple to set up goal conversion tracking in Google Analytics or Adobe Experience if you use Adobe Analytics. Set up conversion tracking and look at your top pages. And then once you've got goal tracking, if you don't already have it there, conversion tracking, look at the pages that create the highest number of conversions. And what you'll find is that it's usually two different types of web pages. Connect them through linking. Bring the conversion pages and link to them in your high traffic pages. Take your high conversion pages and link your high traffic pages. And what you're going to start to do is you're going to take the people who are coming to you for the first time, and you're going to present to them the things that get new customers and new growth for your business as often, as quickly, and in as most optimized way as possible. Use the offers that get them there the most, whether it's free guides or ultimate guides or webinar recordings or sales presentations or whatever it is that converts your audience. Present that information to your highest traffic pages. Link your highest traffic pages in your highest conversion pages. It's the best way to improve upon digital experience and show a return on investment. All right, so just wrapping up the 5 tips that I want to make sure you leave with. We all in marketing need to learn to sell the business case for return on investment in marketing. That means we need to learn how to push back. We need to learn how to say no. We need to learn how to put into context the fact that no one wants our ads, that no one wants our case studies. No one looks at those things. Maybe our sales team uses them in a one-to-one way, but the real way to generate new business growth, to defend the strategic function of marketing, is to reach, engage, convert, and retain buyers you would have never reached using the simple digital analytics that are available to every one of us, the keywords that your audience is using, the content that they're engaging, and the paths that they take, the process or the methods that they use to convert to being new customers. Commit to frequency. I'm not saying that anyone should sacrifice quality. Commit to delivering quality content 2 to 4 times a week. And if you do that, you will see 2 to 3 times higher traffic, 3 to 4 times higher leads. We've proven it with every single one of our customers. But it means you've got to resist the natural tendency to want to promote yourself. Make your customers the hero of the content stories that you tell. Don't make your company, your product, your executives, your brand the hero. Make your audiences the hero of the story. Make their challenges the villain. and become the platform that serves up that education and thought leadership. Or just simply answer customer questions. I gave you some tools that you could do that. Who best to answer customer questions than the experts that already sit inside your organization? One of the questions I get often, well, how do we activate our experts? And that's a whole separate presentation. But the simple answer is go ask the organization who wants to share their expertise. Don't make it mandatory. Don't force a program onto your marketing team or your sales team. What you're going to find, and I found this at SAP, we started with 12 bloggers who were already sitting around the organization when I built a content marketing program at SAP. And we delivered $1 million in sales in about 18 months. And the way that we started with no budget was we found 12 bloggers that were already blogging on the topics that we knew would answer customer questions. We also made heroes of them. We said, hey, look at Joe. He created this great article that is our most read article this week. And we also, we generated 6 leads from it. Well, all of a sudden, salespeople came up to us and said, hey, I'd like to write an article once a week. How do I get on the platform? And then we had 100 people, and then we had 1,000 people. And today, SAP has thousands of internal employees and external ambassadors writing for the SAP website. So don't try to mandate, don't try to force that on your employees. Reach out and find out who are the storytellers, who are the ones that want to share what they know, who are the ones that want to build their profile, who are the modern salespeople that understand that thought leadership educational content is the best way to reach new people. All right. So I'm not here to promote or plug my book, The Content Formula. I've got a free gift for you, but I wrote this book because I wanted to share the formula for marketing ROI. And unfortunately, too many of the executives that I gave the book away to, they were like, nah, I'm good. And what I realized was the real problem was culture. And so that's why I wrote this book. It's not even really a marketing book, although I use some of the stories that I shared with you today in Mean People Suck. But the point is that what I really want everybody to walk away with is we need marketing. We need companies to understand that empathy for our customers, empathy for our colleagues, building their personal profiles, building their social platforms, getting them to share what they know, to answer customer questions is the best way to deliver ROI for our companies, to map content to the buyer journey. And so for listening to me for the past, 40 minutes or so, I do have a free gift. So this is a bit.ly link that you can use to download the content formula. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. Kenneth, I don't know if you're able to join live. I couldn't hear you when we were kicking off. I still don't hear you. Maybe it's just me.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I'm going to take questions. Kenneth, I can't hear you. I don't know if everyone else can. So I'm just going to keep going. I've got 10 minutes. I'll take the questions that I see. Yeah, you can hear us both. Okay. Yeah, I can't hear him. So I'm just going to take the questions. Is there a way to find out top searches by a certain age group? Tanya asked. I don't know a way to find out certain top searches by a certain demographic. But what I would argue, I use another Venn diagram to talk about demographics versus interest profiles. And back to my radiologist example, I don't really care about the demographics of radiologists. The client we were working with, they don't really care about the demographics of radiologists. What we wanted to do is create content that they care about. And so what you find is you tend to work in a very strange and surprising way when you start to shift the focus towards interest profiles. I wrote an article, What Marketers Can Learn About, from the Game of Thrones story. Again, I don't care that marketers are average age, location, or whatever. So again, I would focus on interest profiles. Let's see. What are your thoughts on tying lead scoring with a strategic content plan? Multi-touch attribution is a whole nother topic of conversation that I could go on about. Kenneth, I'm sorry I can't hear you, but I'm just going to keep going. If that's okay. Feel free to text me if you have a specific point you want me to make. But so multi-touch attribution. I've done first touch. I've sort of I've got him on the phone.
Michael, I can hear you and see you, and so keep going.
Okay. Should I keep you on the phone here?
Yeah, because I've got a question.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I'll take the one I was just taking, and then I'll let you take it over from there. So thoughts on lead scoring? Yeah. So I've taken advantage of the inadequacy of first touch and last touch, and even multi-touch, because what how do you do multi-touch? Do you average? Do you weight it by pipeline influence? I could talk all day long about multi-touch attribution. It sort of gives me a headache just to think about it. Um, what I like to do is measure the outcomes of your marketing strategy overall. Uh, I don't believe there's a return on investment for a piece of content. I don't believe there's a return on investment for an email. I mean, what really delivered the return? Was it the headline? Was it the first paragraph? Was it the writer who just really knew what she was talking about? I really think you have to look at your marketing spend overall, relative to specific, I think, ultimately channels. So we talk about paid, owned, and earned. Content marketing is an owned marketing channel. That's why I believe measuring on the digital asset of your website is a great way to start. You can look at the investment made, you can look at the time spent, you can look at the resources involved, and you can start to see, is the traffic up? Are the leads directly from inbound up? Those kinds of things. That's the way I would, I know there's companies that are smarter than me using black box technology and AI engines to generate multi-touch attribution. I would just look to try to assign budget to channel and return on investment from there.
So they can see me, and I am holding up a copy of your book. So I definitely love the content formula. A little echo, sorry. There may be on yours. Hit mute on your computer a second. So one of the questions I want to ask you then is, do you look at where do you see advertising fitting then? When is it appropriate to really use? Because I think one of the issues that every business is running through, especially today, now that they're charged with growth, because although the economy has gotten better, it's been kind of a pandemic kind of year, if you know what I mean. And so many people have struggled just to keep the lights on. And so a lot of times the constant struggle, especially with content, is how do we drive that ROI today? And that sometimes is too short sighted, of course, but it may be over a quarter in content, especially from an SEO point of view, can take, it can take an amount of time for it not only to crawl through Google, but really to permeate within a business wherever you're sharing it, picking up traction with multiple touch points and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'm gonna mute you now on my phone. Okay. No, it's a great question. I am not opposed to paid advertising. So, like I said, there's paid, owned, and earned. And the way I love to describe this is what we used to do. And like from the dawn of time until about 93, when the first internet browser was launched. We thought of marketing as we create an amazing ad with a big budget and a Madison Avenue ad agency. And the ad is going to be so amazing that the New York Times is going to talk about it. And the press coverage, the earned media we get from that press coverage, is going to bring all these people to to call our company on the phone, or reach out to our salespeople and say, "I need to have a meeting. Let's go golf and let's have a steak dinner." And the problem is that the digital world we live in has dramatically upended that model. So we used to think paid to earned to owned. A paid ad with a big budget, get people to talk about it, and they come to your business. What we see now is that that's flipped. We now need to start with our owned media, and that's our website. And that's why the content on our website needs to answer customer questions. And then if it's good enough, people will share it. And so, I hate to brag, but I love to use the stat that the average article on my website gets 100 social shares. And almost all of our clients don't get 100 shares across all of the articles they share. It's just there's a real lack of focus on creating the right content for sharing. And so we start with the right content, hope that it gets shared, and we build out social profiles and we build out employee advocacy programs to get that going. And then we start to add paid on top. And so it is a long-term play. I understand the immediacy to want to show an immediate return on investment. I just got an investment from a new client, a new investment from an existing client today, who just turned off paid search because they weren't seeing a return on investment. The problem is the second they spend $80,000 a month on paid search. The problem with ROI is the second they stop spending, the ROI, that whatever return or value they were getting drops to zero. They were getting, I think he said, 75 cents in revenue for every dollar spent. They were losing 25 cents for every dollar spent. And so you can show revenue from advertising. You maybe can show return on investment from advertising, but it stops the second that you end your spend. With content marketing, I could stop publishing today. My website will continue to rank for 100,000 keywords. It'll continue to get a million visitors a year. It might slowly decline over time, but because the content I write is evergreen, I have a digital asset that grows. So these are conversations we need to have with CEOs and executives. Hey, marketing is strategic. That means it has a longer time frame and horizon than you might expect from an ad that's going to get our name out there, with the next Super Bowl. So it's a tough question. I understand the pressure to show immediate results. Unfortunately, sales and marketing are both long-term plays.
Well, yeah, don't stop writing because I look at your newsletter almost every day. So it's a really good newsletter and encourage anybody to subscribe to it. So, Michael, again, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I want you to go out and have a good rest of your day.